Did you know that an early version of the Matrix script features an entirely different opening scene without Trinity? Phil Oosterhuis was the assistant to the Wachowskis during the filming of The Matrix. He contributed to the book, The Art of the Matrix, which is an absolutely awesome book, by the way. And one chunk features an entire scene, an entire script, for a different opening scene. One that completely replaces Trinity with Eddie and replaces the chase with something else involving agents. Let's give that a read now, and you tell me whether you think this would make a better opening or a worse opening than what we got. So this is writings from Phil himself, the assistant to the Wachowskis. Scene 1, Trace Program. Originally, Trinity wasn't even in this scene. It was a conversation between a character named Eddie, who had secretly re-entered the Matrix to see his girlfriend, Christie, one more time. Eddie had been recently recruited by Morpheus, and, as a result, had left Christie behind in the Matrix. When this scene was changed, the script no longer addressed what happens when people are separated by Morpheus's crusade. That's the problem with working with an idea as rich as The Matrix. There's no way you can explore all of its implications in 2 hours. It's a good thing they're doing sequels. Yeah, good point by Phil, but of course, at this point he didn't know they were making the Animatrix as well, and the video games and the comics, so eventually a lot of different themes were addressed by the wider Matrix universe. As the scene turned out, it is a great kick-ass introduction to Trinity. Yeah, he's right, so I'm pleased that we got what we got, because that first scene with Trinity is bloody awesome. But let's read on, let's start the script. Fade in, on a computer screen, so close that it has no boundaries. A blinking cursor pulses in the electric darkness like a heart coursing with phosphorus light, burning beneath the derma of a black neon glass. Just take a moment there to appreciate the Wachowskis' writing. They do this throughout the whole script, by the way. They connect the machine visuals, the machine aesthetic, to human biology. And of course, that's one of the main themes of the whole Matrix trilogy, obviously. But it's just so cool that even in the script, on a scripting level, the Wachowskis wrote that in. The cursor is pumping like a heart, and describe the computer screen or the phone screen as a derma. Derma meaning human skin. If you want to see more awesome script breakdowns, by the way, where I go into much detail about the script, for example the famous architect scene, and exactly what he means by his lines of dialogue, click in the top right corner right now. A phone begins to ring. We hear it as though we were making the call. The cursor continues to throb, relentlessly patient, until... Hello? Data now slashes across the screen, information flashing faster than we can read. Call received, AT&T. Christie? 2-19-94. We listen to the phone conversation as though we were on a third line. Eddie, is it really you? It's me. God, it's good to hear your voice. So far it's starting similar to how the film starts. However, the difference is, these two people seem very desperate and nervous and anxious, whereas of course, in the film we're seeing a kind of cool start between Trinity and Cypher. Trace program, running. Eddie, where are you? Where have you been? Straight away there is a difference there, it's a different year. So we're seeing 2-19-94 as the date that's on screen, which is different to the date that we see in the actual Matrix film. Now, could this mean that this is deliberately set earlier than the Trinity scene? The entire screen fills with racing columns of numbers. They rush, shimmering like green electric rivers at a 10-digit phone number in the top corner. I can't tell you. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be talking to you. So by that we can see that Morpheus has told Eddie not to go back into the Matrix. Eddie has already broken Morpheus's rules by somehow entering the Matrix in secret, which is a event that happens at the times in the film as well. For example, that's exactly how Cypher was able to have his secret meeting with Agent Smith. He was able to somehow broadcast his mind into the Matrix in secret. Some people call that a plot hole, about how Cypher was able to get into the Matrix in secret. It's not a plot hole at all. I actually addressed that exact topic in my video that you can watch by clicking the top right corner right now. Why, Eddie? What kind of trouble are you in? The area code is identified. The first 3 numbers suddenly fixed, leaving only 7 flowing columns. I had to call you. Christie, I miss you. I want to come back to you, but I can't. I've seen things. That topic, by the way, of what happens when a plugged-in human sees their friend or partner or colleague or relative suddenly disappear and be recruited by Morpheus, That doesn't really get addressed much. It gets addressed in other stories within the Matrix universe. For example, in Kid's story, we see what happens when he escapes the Matrix. They basically have his funeral. Now, of course, that's a nice clean break for the agents and the machines in that case, because, Michael Karl Popper he could have easily just died by falling off that roof. Whereas when it's something like this, Eddy and Christie, where Eddy got recruited by Morpheus and then disappeared, we don't know exactly how Christie is reacting until now. And that topic is something that could be addressed much more widely in The Matrix 5, when that comes out eventually. And if you want to see all the rumours and everything about The Matrix 5 that we know already, then please click in the top right corner right now. We begin moving towards the screen, closing in as each digit is matched, one by one, snapping into place like the wheels of a slot machine. Eddy. Jesus, Christie, I dream about you, and every time I wake up without you, I want to go back to sleep. Now who does that sound like? I want to go back to sleep? Cypher. We're seeing here that Eddy is becoming one of these red pills that kinda wants to become a blue pill again. We're seeing that just like Cypher, he wants to go back to sleep, as he phrased it, which is why he's broken Morpheus's rule and gone back into the Matrix. Maybe Cypher, in this storyline here, maybe Cypher had already kinda talked to Eddy and persuaded him to try to go back in. And Eddy isn't the only one to fall for Cypher's kind of beliefs here. As we see in the Matrix Online, an entire religion, basically an entire cult, is formed called the Cypherites after Neo is killed in the Matrix Revolutions. So in that storyline, the Cypherites believe humans should be forced back into the pods, back into the Matrix. Eddy, the police were here. Only 2 thin digit lines left. What? Oh. And these agents, special agents. So that's important there. It shows that it wasn't just police who were at Christie and Eddy's apartment or house, it was agents, actual Matrix agents. So that explains exactly how we're seeing this trace. The trace that you're seeing on screen right now, it's because the agents have been monitoring Christie's phone. They could have a trace on the line. Christie, I have to see you. The final number pops into place. Trace complete. Call origin 312-555-0690. Please, Christie, tonight at midnight, you know where, please come. 750 North Wabash. Now here's a little point, which you might not care about, but I'm an absolute nerd, so I did it anyway. If you go onto Google Maps and find that exact address, it's outside a church. And on the church you'll see the phrase, in Latin, Caritatis Beatae Maria Virginis Sorores, which means Sisters of the Charity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So of course, the religious undertones of the Matrix are not shied away from in this first bit here, but then again, it's such a throwaway little line anyway that no one would actually notice it. Christie, I love you. He hangs up and the line goes dead. We continue closing in on the glowing green numbers of the address as we hear the crackle of a police radio. Attention all units, attention all units. And more lines from Phil here. Trinity chase. In the earlier version of this scene, Eddy doesn't make it to the phone booth. The agents use a sports car instead of a garbage truck to run him over, then place a trace on him, trying to find Morpheus. As a result, Morpheus is forced to unplug Eddy before he gives them away. Love costs Eddy his life. Phil has been very explicit there, obviously from kind of taking direction from the Wachowskis, but love costs Eddy his life, foreshadowing what happens with Neo in Reloaded. Neo is the one who chooses love to go for Trinity instead of the human race, and that costs him his life at the end of Matrix Revolutions. Exterior, street. Eddy emerges from the shadows of an alley, and at the end of the block, in a pool of white streetlight, he sees it. The telephone booth. He lurches down the concrete walk, so focused on his goal, he does not see a speeding sports car suddenly veer off the road, aiming straight for him. It plows into Eddy, rolling him over the hood, bouncing him into the air, swerving as it slams on its brakes while Eddy hits the ground. The car door opens and Agent Smith gets out. Eddy is trying to stand when Smith shoots, blowing a hole in his knee. Eddy screams. Agent Smith slips his gun into the shoulder holster and touches his earpiece. A moment later, the tinted Ford door rolls up and Agent Brown gets out with a black briefcase. Start the trace. This equipment that we're seeing here, this briefcase thing, it's the same equipment that they put Morpheus in at the end of the Matrix when they're interrogating him. So we see the electrodes on Morpheus's head, the injection with the fluid, it's the same stuff. It's they're trying to break Morpheus's mind, trying to extract information. They're doing the same thing here, but with Eddie. So if they were to have kept this scene in the film, it would have meant that when we see the interrogation scene with Morpheus, it would feel a little bit less scary because we would have already seen it in the film. Removing this scene means that when we see Morpheus getting interrogated, it's a bit more scary. Both men work very quickly and efficiently. Agent Brown attaching white disc electrodes to Eddie's head and chest, while Agent Smith prepares a large hypodermic needle, pumping a clear liquid into Eddie's neck. The electrodes are connected to several monitors and a computer in the briefcase. Agent Brown begins typing with unnatural speed. Again, this is just me noticing this because I'm a bit of a nerd with the Matrix stuff, but typing with unnatural speed, I know the Wachowskis are massive fans of the Ghost in the Shell series, and there's so many famous little shots in the Ghost in the Shell series, and one of them is this moment where a cyborg splits their robotic fingers apart to type incredibly fast. So each finger basically becomes another 3 fingers, so suddenly they can type incredibly fast on this keyboard. I feel like that might be a reference the Wachowskis are making here because they see the agent is typing unnaturally fast with a natural speed. But am I looking too much into it? Maybe, tell me below. Eddie's eyes glaze as he begins convulsing. I want information. Information. Full access. Understood? When Smith says full access, he's referring to access to the Zion mainframe, which is the exact same thing he's trying to get from Morpheus when he's interrogating Morpheus, and the exact same thing he's trying to get from Cypher in the restaurant scene. Words scramble as they spit from Eddie's mouth. His eyes begin to go white, rolling up into his head when the phone rings. Agent Smith and Brown exchange looks. Agent Smith stands, enters the booth, and answers the phone. Hello, Morpheus. Silence. The fact that Morpheus called here means that Morpheus in real life on the ship, he's just discovered what Eddie's doing. He's just discovered Eddie plugged in to the Matrix right there, and he's reading the green code. So Morpheus has woken up at night or whenever it is, he's walked into the deck and seen, oh god, there's Eddie plugged in. He then walks over to the computer screens, watches the code, and has found the phone booth right outside where the agents are standing. You've lost another one. How many is that? I've lost count, but I'm sure you haven't. This one, he was weak, even weaker than the last. Massive removal of information there. This is similar to another few chunks of lines that were also removed later on in the script that basically reveal that Morpheus has been trying to find the one with many, many, many different people, just like Neo and Eddie. Neo is just simply the latest potential one that Morpheus has found, and this line here kind of confirms that. I think they removed those references because it basically cheapens the prophecy in a way. It cheapens the fact that Morpheus has been trying to find this one for his whole life, because if they leave it in, then it seems like, yeah, he's been trying and failing to find the one. He's found like 5 other people who have all just kind of died before Neo. The phone crackles with static. Will it be the next that finally gives you away? What did you expect fighting inevitability? No matter, it won't be long now. Every loss brings me closer to you, Morpheus, closer to Zion. The line goes dead. Suddenly, Eddie's body seizes up. He reaches into the air, grabbing at nothing, screaming. No! And then his body collapses, perfectly still, perfectly dead. What's happening here is, in real life, Morpheus and Tank have just unplugged Eddie's body from the Matrix. That's why his body suddenly goes limp. In real life, they've severed his connection to the Matrix, so therefore his mind dies. Agent Smith looks at the phone, then drops the handset, letting it hang from its spiral metal cord as he gets out of the booth. We hear him talking to Agent Brown, their voices, as always, muted and monotone. Anything? Dangling before the phone, we move toward the earpiece. A name. Neo. The grey plastic of the phone widens before us, spreading out like a smooth, perfect landscape marked by small black holes. We'll need a search running. It has already begun. Still closer until we fall into one of those holes and are swallowed by darkness. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this kind of like script deep dive thing, then please tell me below and subscribe, because I'm going to be releasing a brand new Matrix video every single week from now until the release of the Matrix 5. So my name is George, this is Jam Punch, and I will see you next time.